Hi, can you hear me? Awesome. Okay, cool. Um, Good evening, everyone. I am very happy that you are here, although it's a small crowd, but you need to help me here, okay? Because we're gonna do it a little bit more interactive. Nobody is allowed to leave. Yeah, please, welcome. Come in, please. Please have a seat. Okay, so the session of today is all about trust and prompt engineering. Thank you for joining me today. But before we start, let me introduce myself because I think this is the first time that we met, most of you. And one of my Danish friend that I met, her name is Kat. She taught me how to say some phrases in Danish. So please, trying to clap when I finished the sentence because it was so hard to say. So, hej, jeg hedder Gia. Is that right? Okay. No, sorry. Yep. Okay. That's right. That's right. Okay. You can clap. There's one more phrase. uh, Rart et mudeja. Rart et mudeja. Is that right? Like, nice to meet you? Like, you as a plural sentence? Anyway, so I'm Gia. I work at Microsoft as a data and AI architect, leading all the AI projects for Australian federal government. I love endurance sports, as you can see in my drawing. I once cycled about 1,500 kilometers in 28 days to raise funds for kids who were born with rare disease. If you don't know what 1,500 kilometers looks like, it's about the distance of 3 round trips from Copenhagen to the Legoland. Not the London Legoland, the Legoland that you have here, okay? And fun fact about me, I actually went viral on TikTok with 30 million views. Okay, it's not about what you think. It was about an edible coffee cup, and I was just eating it, and it just went viral. I have no idea. I know it's just random facts about different things, but anyways, this is what you're gonna get in this session. Okay, it's just all the random stuff, and I don't know what's gonna happen. You're all gonna help me here. Okay, cool. Do you remember the first prompt that you wrote? Very first prompt that you interacted with generative models? Nobody? Yeah? How it was? Okay, what did it say? Amazing, you are very empathetic. That's cool. Okay, so the first prompt that you wrote is not as important as what you do with the output, right? So if you remember the first prompt and you kind of shy, didn't want to say it out loud, right? Because it might be some weird questions, I get that. So what did you do with the generate output of the first prompt? Maybe keep that back of your mind because you know what? I actually remember what was my first prompt. And that's the first prompt I wrote to the GPT models. At that time, I didn't really understand how it works. I thought it was like a magic, just like put stuff out. And obviously, my mom is Asian. I mean, you can already tell, right? So I was about to move in with my boyfriend. So I wanted to ask for her approval. And I was asking ChatGPT when it first came out about the advice, right? And it sounds nice and everything, but mom was so furious. My mom was like, "What? You don't respect our tradition. We don't do this. Like, and you're gonna invite me over to your place. This is not how we roll." So, since then, I actually pay more attention in in learning how to actually communicate with language models. Okay, so I hope that you will learn something from my session today too. Okay, so while there are many language models available today, and you probably already know this, right? Because it's come out every couple of months. Actually, no, it's not a couple of months now. Maybe every 2 weeks now, there's some new models available. Whether it is closed source or open source, whether it is small, mediums, or large models, the tactics and patterns of the prompts that you are going to see today can actually be highly generalized across many different model types. What's out of scope today is a text-to-image model like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, Imagen, and anything that is multimodality because maybe you have to stay here until tomorrow morning, right, if I were to talk about those. So maybe it's something I can do for the next talk. Okay, let's do a quick refresh because I don't know what's the understanding of everybody in the room about the language models. Okay, let's do a quickly refresh on language model, whether it's large, medium, or small. So, what do you think is that one word after this sentence? The best thing about AI is its ability to predict. Okay, you said predict. Anybody else? Guess? Okay. Calculate? Generate. Okay, generate. Anybody else? No? Predict. Okay. That's good. Actually, this is a good response because one of my students actually told me that it's going to take over. That one word is take over. And I was like, well, you all have the bright future here. But, okay, let's see. It's actually have the list. It's actually produced the list, right, of the next token, but just for simplicity, just talk about words for the time being. So in this case, you can see that I color code the word learn because it's also come with the probabilities of that tokens. It's likely that it's going to pick the word learn. So the best thing about AI is its ability to learn, and then you can see other words that comes in the rank as well. So at the simplest level, the models are always trying to produce a reasonable combinations or continuations of tokens of whatever text that it got so far. So in this case, like the best thing about AI is its ability to something, right? And when I say reasonable, it means that one might expect someone to write after seeing what other people have written in the web pages, like billions of web pages. So it's produced the next token. So the models will always look for things in a certain sense, which is like match in meanings, right? Looks like I'm boring. I bore you now. Hang on. Let's do another example. Okay. 5n's plus 5n's equal to. It's not a trick question. 5? 10? Okay, bananas? Okay, so, okay, another example is still the same thing, right? Which is a 10, right? 10, and it's still a token. Number is still a token, right? So this is a higher probability of 64%, right? Now, recent breakthrough in the language model scene, particularly GPT-4 and beyond, have shown remarkable improvement in understanding context and nuances. And these models are better equipped with understanding complex problems or broader contexts, and it can deliver more accurate and nuanced responses. You can see, I don't know if it's too small for you, but I have a little bit of dad jokes here. I was like, not 10 ants, right? 10 ants, like 10 ants, right? And it said, when adding 5 ants plus 5 ants together, the result is 10, not 10 ants. The word tenants is people that renting or occupying properties. It seems like you might have some misunderstanding or play on the words here, right? So it's actually show like some I wouldn't say the ability, but maybe competence in terms of interpreting the nuances in our language. But for it to understand the language like we do, we need to convert the words into numbers, right? Because then otherwise, how it's going to make the calculations? And you might already know the concept about tokenizations, right? Which I kind of talked about it before, like tokens and words. It is the data science techniques, just turn those letters into numbers, right? Helpful rule of thumbs, because one word is not always equal to one token. Some words have more tokens depending on the characters that compose it. So rule of thumbs, about 100 tokens is about 7 words. So how does it pick the likelihood of the next word? Don't know if anybody have seen this paper before. Yeah, a little bit, some nods, okay? So this is actually a famous paper from the guy that worked at Microsoft in language understanding many years ago. And by the way, you don't have to take photos or anything. At the end, I do have the QR code for you to scan, and you can get all the slices and all the papers and references, okay? Okay, so how does the model pick the likelihood of the next word? The token, as I said, it transforms into continuous vectors representation, and it captures the semantic meaning in the higher dimensional space. So what it means is, you see the word cats, and all of the little dots, like the numbers like 0.6, 0.9, 0.1, all represents a characteristic of that word. Usually it has more than about 1,000 numbers to represent a single word, and you can think of that as a point on the multi-dimensional space. And when we do this, when we actually transform the letters into vectors in the multi-dimensional space, we can do remarkable things like calculations, right? So if you subtract the vector for man from the vector for king and add the vector of woman, you will get the vector of queen. So that's how it's trying to find the similarities or the closeness of the semantic meanings in the multi-dimensional space. Similar to cat and kitten, it's quite close to each other because basically it's the same species. It's just the age, but it doesn't have to match in terms of the word or letters in itself. This is match in semantic, match in meanings. Okay, all right. So that's the quick refresh. Okay, we all feel good now, right? Okay, that's good. All right. So the language models is actually still considered as a new technology because I do work with the federal government of Australia. They're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with it, right? And when new technology is introduced, there's always this gap between you and something unknown. And I don't know if you remember, that odd feeling or strange feeling when you went into a car with a stranger maybe about 10 years ago, your first Uber ride or whatever, share riding, blah, blah car or whatever, if you have tried that, or staying at somebody else's house like Airbnb, or first time putting yourself into a self-driving car, or copy paste outputs from GPT model to your performance review. I did that. I did take the trust leap. We call that trust leap. This gap is a risk, and when we accept the risk, we cross this gap with trust. And trust evolve over time because it depends on how individual we perceive technology. So trust is the bridge between the known and the unknown. There's this researcher called Rachel Spotsman. She's actually based in Sydney. She referred this as taking a trust leap. And she also have a book as well. I'm not trying to sell her anything, but I actually study her material very vastly when I was doing my research paper 10 years ago on BlaBlaCar, actually. So this signify the tendency to take a meaningful risk while believing in high chance of positive outcome, right? It shows why just enough trust is crucial for innovation and adoption for new technologies for individuals and organizations. But how can we facilitate trust to happen? It's by minimizing risk and reducing uncertainty when using the technologies. Let's have a look at what has came here before. Anybody seen this before? The trust model's been around for about 24 years by Charles Green. So Charles Green actually comes up with this, the trust equation that has a full objective to measure the trustworthiness in a person. 4 variables are credibility, reliability, intimacy over self-orientation. But trust is actually different when it comes to AI that can generate human-like outputs, right? Okay, so I'm actually casually proposing these trust models, okay, for generative AI. You can build on top of my work. I would just really quickly think it through about what else that we need, what are the other elements that we need to trust in generative AI outputs. First of all, accuracy. I want to know if the output provide correct, up-to-date, and evidence-based information when I actually get the output out from the generative models. Reliability, I want to know how reliable is the output, how consistent, safe, dependent it is across time, across various tasks and different conditions, right? Personalizations. Is the output tailored to the individualized users? If I ask something about marketing content for Gen Z, I don't want the output to be for Gen Y. It's not that anybody knows what's the difference between them anyway. So Anyways, and then ethics, right? Want to make sure outputs adhere to some sort of ethical standards, fair, non-discriminative, respectful, free from harm, and also have some cultural sensitivity built into it. And the last one is alignment with user needs, right? The alignment factors, it's quantify how well the AI outputs align with my specific needs or user-specific needs. What is your objective of communicating with the language models to begin with? It acts as a multiplier of the sum of other components, meaning that it has a better alignment, will lead to a higher trust score. Now, there's a limitation, this big disclaimer here. While all of these components, I know I was working on it, but I was not like a researcher or anything. It was well chosen. I was just like based on my experience and all my customer experience and trying to come up with a framework. Measuring all of these elements are actually, well, specifically for personalizations and alignment with user needs in a quantifiable way is challenging, right? How you quantify it? How do you quantify those human experience and alignment of user needs? So these aspects are often subjective and vary significantly from one user to another, which is difficult. If you have any suggestions, please come and talk to me later. We probably can do something together, okay? Right, this is where prompt engineering comes in. I think all of those introductions is to tell you like how important it is to actually do a good prompt engineering. And when I say prompt engineering, it's not just about, here's the 10 best practices to write the prompt, right? It's not just that. It's also the techniques, the strategies, the patterns, and so on that is available today for you to try. So prompt engineering can help increase all the score for these elements I was just talking about, how you can actually trust generated outputs, right? It can be applied to enhance each of these components. Now, we cannot not talk about the process of writing a prompt. Who's here write a prompt and never iterate on it? You just take it firsthand and then do whatever with it right after. Come on, don't be shy. Yep, okay, I like you already, because sometimes I do that too. Because sometimes I'm pressed with time, right? So, but general process that I come across and all my customers trying to do as well is pretty much like this. And if you go and talk to anybody that is like AI engineer, they're probably gonna tell you some form or some variation of this type of process. So you have an objective, right? What you're trying to do at that time. Write a prompt, verify the output, okay, and then you refine the prompt. And this process could go on until you get the things that you need or until you run out of tokens, right? Depends if you have limits in tokens and then you actually use it in your daily life. But the key here is the iterative process. Now, have you all heard about hallucination? The cute name that we give when things doesn't go as planned? Yeah, okay. So, I think I have been like this whole thing has been around for like a year-ish in the enterprise, and everybody always concerned about hallucination. But is hallucination a good thing or bad thing? Bad thing? Okay. Anybody? Bad thing? Okay. Maybe. It depends. Sounds like a consultant. Sorry. Okay, so actually, yes, it depends because it depends on the objective. If you are trying to create something so creative, you want a little form of hallucination. We all think that hallucination is a bug. It's actually not a bug. It's a feature. Depends on what you're trying to do. So be careful when you actually write the prompt because it's all come down to what are you trying to do with it. Okay, you are actually in control. All right, well, in control for now until they make the whole agentic thing. So that's a whole big asterisk there. Okay, now it's great talking about trust because it's a complex phenomenon. I'm actually not a trust expert, right? But I just did a little bit of study on trust. I also understand that calculation and equation alone, it can't describe nuances from of the human experience. They are consideration that we have to think about. There are about 5 considerations before we actually jump into the techniques and patterns. I know that you're all here for that, okay? So, first consideration, every word in a prompt matters. I don't know if you can see. Let me like trying to, can you see at the back? You can see, okay, cool. So, when I say every word in a prompt matters, give me a strategy to make a bank in 2024. You know, I was like, yeah, how can I reinvest my money? How can I actually grow my money? So if you're not familiar, make bank in my mind, it was just like, you know, make a lot of money. But because English is not my first language, right? Sometimes I miss a word, miss an article, or put in additional articles. So I put it there, give me a strategy to make a bank. It tells me how to set up a financial institution, which I didn't want to do, right? I just want to like reinvest my money. So you see, just adding an A change the understanding of what it's trying to draw from all those billion of web pages and generate the output. So make bank sounds more like what I actually want. Second thing, risk perception influences trust. Okay, so you probably have lower trust if the perceived risk is high, right? If acting on the AI advice is high. So in this case, is you are a medical assistant in a medical context, right? Clinical note, convert these clinical letters to blah. You probably be more skeptical because the risk is high. You're dealing with somebody's health. Whereas on the other end, low risk, you probably have high trust because you know what? 28 oranges, trading rate for 3 apples. Like, does it matter? Probably not, unless you're actually in the business, right? And we have something like somewhere in between. It is a bad feng shui to put a desk in a bedroom. I live in a studio. What do I do? You know, if someone really care about cultural sensitivity, like me, for example, I really care about good luck and stuff like that, right? Because I'm Asian. I'm not trying to stereotype, but that's ingrained in my culture. I probably care about it, and I'll probably be skeptical about the output that is gonna return to me compared to how you perceive it, right? Third thing, subjectivity and objectivity. Okay? User, or you may trust the AI less if you believe that it's going to be overly subjective, that do not seem to be based on any facts or well-founded logic. What is the most popular cuisine among people in Copenhagen? Thai or New Nordic cuisine? I would say Thai because I'm from Thailand. Obviously, I have bias, right? But you might say New Nordic. But you see what I mean? So you might be more skeptic. And if it's objective, 1 + 1 = 2, you're going to get like definite answer. And whatever it comes out, when you inspect it, you will say, yep, I'm going to trust it because it's objective. It's a fact. Okay. The fourth one, you're more trusting in when there's a time pressure. Basically, same prompt, preparing for customer meeting agenda. All the time in this world, you're going to spend all the time inspecting whether the output is right and interesting and whatnot. If it's urgent, like I am going to have the workshop in the 10 minutes, I'm not going to care about it. I am going to take whatever it gave me in the beginning and maybe change it a little bit and then use it, right? So this is something that we need to think about. And the last one, existing knowledge. I know all of you are an expert in this room, right? In your own field, in your own domain. So those with substantial expertise in a particular topic, maybe like JavaScript or C# and whatever other language of choice, you'll be more critical of AI outputs because you already have your years of experience, your own perspective of how you would do write codes or spot inaccuracy in the output that it gives to you. Novice user, let's say I'm not a C# developer. Actually, I'm not a C# developer, okay? I might just take it as advice, like a good advice, whatever I ask the generative AI, because I have less prior knowledge. And I'll be more inclined to trust AI output, right? So if you read these two prompts, if you're an experienced developer, you would know that there is a similar library called Word2Vect, right? And if the language model suggests there's no such library, you'll be like, what? There is. You know, it's the same, like you don't have to call embedding AI, OpenAI endpoints. You can also do Word2Vect for that. And you'll be skeptical about the output. So it depends on where you are in the spectrum. Okay, so these are the common considerations that I want you to kind of remind yourself when you actually write a prompt. Because sometimes it's easy for us to blame the technology that, oh, it doesn't do what it needs, it doesn't have the intellect, it doesn't blah. It's also partially, it's also about us using the tools, because it's just the tools, right? Okay, common prompting techniques. Who's been waiting for these sections? What time do we have now? Okay, I'm still on time. All right, I'm still on time. Okay, so fundamental technique. This is very simple, simplest form of prompting method, giving instructions, right? AI is easily able solving these sort of problems. Write the word Copenhagen backwards. Niganepok. Okay, very simple. And the next one, giving instructions as well, but longer. It's actually very exciting to see how model can extrapolate from this instruction. For example, you see, I just asked it, read the following sales email, remove any PII data, replace the name John Doe with the placeholder name. And it goes on to remove all the PII data and replace like dealership, salesperson, phone numbers, and email address. I don't even have to say anything else, right? Okay, role prompting. Who has been using this type of role prompting techniques? Yep. What's the role as a expert developers? Yes? Okay, that's good. Okay, so the role prompting is really good in terms of getting it to go find all those billions of web pages that it was trained on before, right? We talked about it earlier in the quick refresh of LLMs. So this is very good when you can just start off like you are an X or act as a Y. There's another one as well, which is role prompting. Same role prompting, but I actually asked it to be a prompt generator. Okay, it's a little bit confusing here, but I'll read it out. So I want you to ask the prompt generator. Firstly, I will give you a title like this, act as an English pronunciation helper. And I give all the example in here, and I say, do not do this, do not do that. And if you look at the last line, my first title is act as a code review helper. And you see, like as a human myself, I'm just confused, like what is it that it wants me to do? Like what? But you look at the model output, here's your prompt for act as a code review helper. So it kind of knows like all the context that you give it so far. And the actual prompt that it has to generate is act as a code review helper, okay? Few shot prompting. Anybody have heard about few shot prompting? Amazing. What is few shot prompting?
Just giving some examples, some model up and then let it generate.
Okay, amazing. Yes, that's right. Basically, when you hear shot, it's just example that you show to language models, because sometimes it doesn't have all the domain knowledge, but you can give an example and it can learn at the inferencing time, right? This is a common way to adapt language model to any new task without fine-tuning the model, because it could be quite expensive. You use few shot learning. So in few shot learning, you have a set of example, right? In this example, great product, 10 out of 10. Comma, not comma, colon, positive. Didn't work very well, negative. Super helpful, worth it, positive. And then the last one is it doesn't work, and I leave it blank. But it's already learned from the first three examples that it is a classifier of, sentiments classifier, right? So this is an example of a few shot prompting. So is actually very good when you use small language models because sometimes it doesn't have like all those billions of parameters, right? So you need to help it along a little bit. So you give more examples for the models to learn on the go. Okay, there are other shot prompting as well. There are 0 shot and 1 shot. Remember what does a shot mean? Example. So if it's 0 shot, it means 0 example. Basically, you say in English, this character means, which is ni hao, right? You didn't give any example. Ni hao is a Mandarin Chinese greeting, hello, hi in English. And then 1 shot prompt. I give it an example of path to net zero. I just say create 5 titles of a green webinars. But green webinars could mean many things, right? So I give it an example of path to net zero and it gives me out different types of webinar titles. Okay? So these short promptings, behind the scene, it used what we call transfer learning techniques. It leveraged the knowledge gained during the pre-training and apply it to a new related task, which is the example that you show it to them, show it to the language models. Very good for smaller models for performance. Now, I didn't hallucinate, right? There's actually a paper on this. So there's a paper called Language Model are Few Shot Learners. And you can see that as we increase from 0 shot, which is no example at all, to 1 shots and few shot, our accuracy go up. And this is particularly work well from GPT-3 and onwards. Okay, so basically these parameters are the model's parameters. Okay. Combining techniques. All of the things that I talked to you before, guess what? You can combine them. Yay. I mean, like, your problem's going to be longer, but it's actually better with the mediums or smaller models so that you can help it to generate the output that you are looking for. Okay, so I don't need to go through this, but as you can see, you can do the prompt, instructions, and give it some different examples. All right, who did this before? Style and tone. Yep. I'll zoom in a little bit, okay, because it's small. So with style, without style, can you see this? Write me an onboarding note for grad highs who just started at Diamond Corp this week and to say, dear, we are thrilled to hire you. Best regard, human resources managers. But I do know that new highs, the new grad highs, they are Gen Z. They don't talk like this, do they? Can anybody tell me, do Gen Z talk like this? I don't think they do. You can actually put the style in the middle at the end. Write me an onboarding note in Gen Z style for grad highs who just started working. Hey, new high, right? And then cheers, your name. So the style, if you actually use it in the right place, right time, it's actually help improve the output depending on what you're trying to do. You might not write something very professional. You might want to spice it up a little bit. There are a list of style and tone that can kind of help you a little bit thinking about different style and tones in your prompt. So persuasive, professional, narrative, formal, and so on. You can all refer to this list in the slide pack. Also format, right? Format also a good way because sometimes you don't want the output to be like an essay. Because, generative models tend to be biased with the output and trying to write the essay super long for you. Sometimes you just need a dot points, or you just need a email or video script, TikTok script, or whatever. You can also ask it to format in whatever you want. All right, now we're getting a little bit more advanced, okay? Chain of thought prompting. Anybody have tried chain of thought prompting before? No? Okay, you have. Yes, you. Amazing. Thank you. Okay, chain of thought. So chain of thoughts is a technique that you ask the language model to explain the reasoning behind the output, right? Can be combined with few shot prompting, get better results on more complex tasks that require reasoning before responding. Okay, it's very effective for complex tasks that can be solved in one go. Sorry, I say can't, like cannot be solved in one go. You divide the task into a smaller chunks, link the step together, and then approach will enables the models to progressively construct the final answer. So in this example, you see one-shot prompting. It's just like you just give the example of one example. Roger has 5 tennis balls. He buys 2 more balls. Sorry, he buys 2 more cans of tennis balls. Each can has 3 tennis balls. How many tennis balls does he have now? The answer is 11. And then that is an example, right? Basically, the example of doing the calculations. And the actual prompt is the questions about cafeteria had 23 apples. Use 20, make lunch, buy 6 more. How many apples do they have? And they say 27. If you do quick maths, you will know that 27 is actually not the right answer, right? So in a chain of thought prompting on this side, you will see that the first example of the prompt that we give, the context that we give, is get Roger to start with 5 balls, 2 cans of tennis, 6 tennis balls, 5 plus 6 equal to 11, and the answer is 11. So you kind of show it how to think step by step, right? So that's why it's chain of thought. So when you see the cafeteria questions, the answer is, after using 20 apples, it makes lunch, buy 6 more. Cafeteria has now 9 apples. Was it 9 apples? Yeah, 9 apples. Okay, so it's very useful. Yes. 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 The fourth is the answer. Sorry, I actually did the different color code. Sorry, same color coding here. It looks a bit confusing. But what you do is that you give the first 3 lines, and then you wait for the prompt to respond. And that was my prompt that it responds. Yes. But it's an example in a way that you do a chain of thoughts rather than say 11, like the first one. Because the first one is just like bluntly say, yep, the answer is 11, not telling it to think step by step. Okay. All right. Tree of thoughts. Anybody tree of thoughts? Okay, so in typical chain of thought situation, the model will come up with, the answer step by step. It creates the next token based on what they've just written without going back to fix any mistakes. And this approach means that once an error is made, there's no way to fix it. It's hard for the models to correct before it moves forwards, right? The more it writes, the more limitations or the more errors that leads to all the error pilings up. So tree of thoughts is actually help reduce the errors before it happens. So in this example, you will see that one-shot prompting, which is just a normal prompt that I write in. I had a team of 10 engineers and 100 customers. They had 10 customers each. The company laid off 3 of them. Soon after, 2 resigned to build their own businesses. I can backfill 1 position. How many customers should be reassigned to the rest of the team? I don't have the screenshot right now, but when I first put this in, you know what the model told me? It still say that everybody will still have 10 customers, which is not right because there's less engineers who actually works on customer projects, right? So tree of thoughts prompting. So you interject before, like interject at every calculation that it needs to be made before you reach to the final statement. So tree of thoughts. The company let off 3 of them, which left me with 7 engineers. Soon after that, 2 resigned, left me with 5. And then 1 position would bring me to 6 engineers. How many customers should be reassigned to the rest of the team? And it's about like 16 or 17, or like depends on how many engineers would take 17 or how many would take 16, right? I know the engineer's problem sounds very simple, but you can also make it more complicated and complex in your domain expertise, like depend on what the company you work for. Could be oil and gas or mining and engineering. Okay. System message. Anybody use system message before? Yeah? No? So system message is often is hidden, right? As if you use normal, say, SaaS application like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, you might not be able to tweak the system message. You might just be like put the prompt at the beginning, but usually system message is hidden. All the developer in this room, if you're trying to develop some AI applications, there will be sections that say system message, and that section is hidden from your users of the applications. Okay, so sometimes it referred to as meta prompt, which is included at the beginning or hidden, right? So usually, why do you want to use system message? It's probably define a specific task of sequence or actions. Could be how model is gonna complete the task. Maybe like I want the I want the output to be in the bullet points. I want the output to include sources or limitation if it doesn't know anything, or poster and tones, Gen Z and Gen Y or whatever. You can put all those in system message. And what you see on the screen right now is how and this I actually copy paste from Microsoft documents around the guardrails of harmful content, fabrication, ungrounded content, copyright infringement, and so on. By the way, fun fact: so they do have this statement that you can copy paste. And anybody have heard that Microsoft will go with you? Like if somebody challenge you when you use Azure OpenAI or something like that, and it, breach the copyright infringement or something like that, it will go with you to the court and then help you with that. Yeah, okay, you have heard about it. Yep, okay. But, okay, some of you might not heard about, but one of the requirements in order to get to that stage or be eligible for it, you have to have this in your system message. All the applications that you develop for, you have to put all of these clauses in your system message. And that won't be exposed to your end users, okay? Another example, because it's like, oh, you talk about Microsoft again. I'm sorry. I mean, how could I not? Sorry. Anyways, another types is the functional callings, or this is an example that I took from Zapier integration to Gmail. Okay, so this is like very action-based. You have the rules, you have instructions for Zapier custom actions, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and require action Gmail, find email. So all of these are hidden when the end user interact with your applications. Okay, so there are many ways to actually use the system message. Okay, next one is prompt chaining. Prompt chaining, anybody? Yeah, okay, cool. So prompt chaining, basically sometimes some tasks are very long, or some variables are very long. Think of prompt chaining as having the variable to encapsulate those long messages. So in this case, right, and also you might have multiple tasks that you're trying to do in the prompt as well. So task number 1, you are an AI-powered medical assistant. User will enter the patient name, specific, and then patient clinical note. This is a variables, right? And in there you have like a long list of different conditions that the patient have. Task number 2, write the referral letters from referring doctor to referred doctor, right? And that could be depending on who's the referring and referred doctor. And then write the email informing the patient about it. So I don't know if you can see this. Let me zoom in. So it's one of my screenshots. Basically, exactly as what the prompt that I showed you just now, right? And I just put that in the system message, right? Define that And I also add the variables of patient clinic notes, kidney disease, and so on. Refer Dr. Meredith Gray, referring Dr. Sean Murphy, patient email john@brown.com. Okay, so when I actually type John Brown, by the way, when you do this, you will probably do it in like code base, like in VS Code. But for me, like to do that, I have to screenshot so many of the code pieces, and it looks really awful. So this is a better way for me to show the audience that you can actually simply use the prompt chaining. So just say John Brown, because sometimes you might write an application for that and just input the patient name, and you can see that here's the referral letter, and it just tell you about all of these different things to Dr. Meredith Gray. Write an email, dear blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's how you can do prompt chaining, because sometimes you want to split the task, and the variables of those, say, context or the input that you want to put it in is too long. You can use prompt chaining for it. All right, adjusting inference parameters. Have anybody adjust the temperature before to be a bit more creative? Yeah, okay. This is like, when you're tuning language models, we always start with temperature settings. It dictates the creativity levels, right? Think of it as a dial. Higher temperature make the model's output more creative, right? More rogue. While lower temperature make it more predictable. You want to set it on base how much creativity you need for your task, right? Let's go back to the objective around what is it that you're trying to do? If you're trying to write a business email or a proposal, a business case to your senior managers about building another application, you might not want it to be too creative, right? So, and also another fact that you might see here, because depending on which API you interact with, the temperature value could go up to 2. Okay, 0 and 2. Some API might have 1 because they limit that to just 1. But if you like use OpenAI API, you might see that you can actually adjust up to 2, which probably gonna give you nonsense. Like you don't even know what it is. Like it doesn't speak human language anymore. But anyways, you can play around, but just be mindful of that. Okay. Top K and top P. They are the two ways to pick out the output token. Okay, so if you still need to tweak things, you want to move on to top P settings first. So choose the top P setting first, okay, because this setting will help the model pick the most likely words without missing on any good ones. Okay, start with the value that is closer to 1, like 0.7. Okay, when I say 0.7, basically it's trying to look at all the things in the list and sum up that, whatever that passes 70%, and then it's pick on those 4 words or tokens first. Now, if you're still not very happy about the output, the creativity, you can do the top K sampling, but you probably don't need it, right? But if you do, be careful, because top K will give you more control over the words that model can choose. If you set it too low, it might kill the creativity and you lose control. So for example, top K, you can see that how it pick out the tokens of the words is actually different than top P's. Basically, it's the ranking, okay? Just the top 3 output tokens. And then we also have frequency penalties and present penalties. Right, so the frequency penalties control how often the model repeats itself or repeats the words or phrases in the response. Higher values mean that the model is likely to repeat itself. Have you seen like those unleashes? If you ask it to write something, it might have like unleashes, extraordinary, like very common tokens that you see AI outputs often give you, and it become like very cringy. So you can adjust the frequency penalties to reduce the repeatability of the outputs. Okay, if you want more consistent and predictable output, you can lower the frequency penalty. Just keep in mind that setting it too low might also cause the model to repeat itself too much as well. And then you also have the present penalty, which manage how closely the model will stick to the words and phrases in your input prompt. High value encourage models to stay on topic, right? If it's serious, you probably want it to stay on topic. If you have lower values, the words will have more freedom, right? Introduce new ideas or concept in which can also lead to creativity, exploring different perspective. But be careful when you do that. Just play around with all of these adjusting parameters. Okay. Now the last advanced techniques that I want to talk about, which is RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and you might have seen and use it if you are using generative AI applications today, right? So remember that hallucination, the cute name that we give to the models when it's confidently wronged or conflating the truth. So RAG pattern helps solve the problem because it ground the model by citing the source and it make it less hallucination. So basically, it will say, oh, I got this response here from this source, right? So these patterns, it retrieve and incorporate external knowledge on the fly from documents, from could be something in your database or from maybe a URL, Wikipedia or something like that during the generation. So the model might not have the domain knowledge itself because it might be like a really small or medium-sized models, right? It doesn't require any additional training of language models. It just works through that transfer learning. Remember that prompt, what was that technique? Short prompting, the few shot prompting. So yeah, so basically it's use that short prompting techniques on the fly. Okay, of course. I think you also expect me to do a little bit of a demo, right? Actually, this is why I put this one here. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Anybody work with RAG pattern or RAG architecture before? Yeah, a couple of you. Awesome. You will know that it's actually very complicated, right, to set up all the infrastructure. So I'm going to simplify everything here. But essentially, I'm in my orchestration tool, and it's called prompt flow here, right? I am actually having these PDF files about AI index report that I put it in my storage account, and I already index it, right? So I want to be able to chat with it because I just want to ask about informations in that AI index from Stanford, and it has like 500 pages in there. I don't want to read all the pages. So in here, always include the chat history because I want to try to make it like a chat-based applications. And in the lookup, I will identify all of the infrastructure that I need for the rack, you know, like all those vector store and the AI index if I already have those indexed in. So in here, I have these embeddings in here. Yeah, AI reports index that I earlier created because it does take a while. And then I also have the query type that I want it to look to go through. It could be, sorry, why is it not running? Of course, the demo, live demo never works. But anyways, you have to take my word for it. So there's hybrid vector and keywords, or just keyword, or hybrid plus semantics. So you can choose the different types of queries, which will depends on what you are asking for or what's your use case. It will give you a different response. Okay. Okay. So then I have that all set up, right? And then the next node, I also have the prompt context in here. And it's just basically a Python functions trying to get all the content from the document that I index. Really? I have 5 minutes left? And we haven't even do the fun stuff yet. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna speed up. At least we get to do the example, okay? Okay, anyways, then you go through prompt variants. You can have multiple prompts so that you can calculate or you can look at or evaluate different types of prompts and what's the output that it returns, right? Whether it's related or grounded and so on. And you have chat with the context, and then you get the output. Oops, the output is here, but it's basically a chat session. So in here, I'll be like, hi, what and you know what? I'm on the lowest tier, so it's gonna take a while. Yeah, Microsoft, because they don't give me like a lot of tokens to actually work on this. Oh, request fail. Well, this is not going well for me. It was working before, I promise. So that was the generated, like what are the key takeaways, top 10 takeaways from AI Index Report 2024, and so on. Okay, so this is how you would do RAG behind the scene. All right. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let me touch on this very quickly so that you know, like, when you actually read through my slides, you're like, what the hell is this? So you know how software also have architecture patterns? There's also prompt patterns as well, which help you solve specific problems. But it's in a way that, reusable, right? It's like a template, but you can reuse it. There's different types like meta language creations. You can try it for yourself, or gameplay, for example. If you want to make it a quiz, or if you want to get it to do more reflections of whenever you generate an output, or if I ask any question, could you think more about it? Or like flip interactions, if you want it to be interactive and ask you more questions around, like I would like you to ask me questions to achieve X, and you should ask question until this condition is met. An example with this will be, ask me to deploy Azure virtual machine. When you have enough information, do the automation of the script and send it back to me so I can actually go and use it on azure.com or Azure portals. Okay, there are more of prompt patterns that you can go and try, right? It's all in the pack. But what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go to I know I'm in between you and your drinks, right? Because the drink's coming out soon, right? Okay, so bear with me, all right? Nobody's allowed to leave right now. Okay, so what's the last prompt you use? Because we are going to use that prompt and we're going to help each other improve collective intelligence. Anybody? Do you remember the last prompt you used? Okay, yes, what's the last prompt you used? What's a 5-year plan to? To study Japanese. Okay. All right, let's do it. 5-year plan. Okay, we're gonna use this for simplicity, okay, because it's like kind of universal UI for everybody. Right. Now, everybody has to help me because you all sit through all of these prompt techniques and stuff like that. I can't remember all for myself, so you need to help me. So the starting prompt is, what is the 5-year plan to study Japanese? What is the 5-year plan to study? Why so long though? Okay, you want to be fluent. That's right. Okay, so 5-year plan to study Japanese fluently. Right? That's a keyword, right? Okay, fluently. Okay, let's try this first. Actually, let's do this. Let's just do the starting prompt. What is a 5-year plan to study Japanese? I'm gonna zoom in just in case you can't see. All right. Okay. 5-year plan is to study Japanese can be broken down into several stages. Year 1, start learning basic. Year 2, intimacy. Year 3, advanced. Year 4, influency. Year 5, mastery, and so on. Throughout the 5-year plan, it's important to stay motivated, blah, 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 blah. You happy with the output? You think it's meet your objective? Is that you want to know, like, higher level plan? Higher level plan's okay. For you, okay. I will suggest you that you might want a more detailed plan. Right? You all agree because when you're trying to learn something. Okay, can you help me? If we have a more detailed plan, what would you want to do? How would you write it?
I will start with the same sentence,
Okay.
then I will add some stuff. Before you enter, I will add some stuff.
Okay, let's say, remember it's an instruction. Give me a 5-year plan to study Japanese. Pardon?
Per year, concrete examples, and I want to study no more than 10 hours a week.
Okay, you want to study 10 hours a week? Or you want 5 hours a week? 5 hours? 10 hours, fine. Okay, give me a 5-year plan to study Japanese.
And give me a list to study per year, and I want to study 10 hours a week.
My objective is to be fluent
Yeah, of course.
after 5 years. Generate a detailed plan
Per year for studying 10 hours.
for studying 10 hours a week. Okay, are we happy with this? You want to see what it is? You want it in a table format or like in a essay? Okay, in a table format. Okay. All right. Oh my God. I don't even know the accuracy, all right? We still have to. Wait, where's the microphone? Oh, the microphone. Microphone dropped. Sorry. So, okay. So you have the. Well, because my my UI is not very coping at the moment. I'm gonna say, I'll put it in bullet points. But if you have bigger screen, obviously it's gonna look better in table. Okay. All right. Year 1 basic foundation. Learning this 2 months. Oh, okay. And it will tell you about how many hours per week for basic grammar, vocabulary, listening practice, speaking practice, and so on. Are we happy with this? No? Then you cannot go. If you're not happy, you cannot go. Okay. I'm kidding. All right. So, anyways, little homework for you. Okay, final slide. Help me improve this prompt. Okay, it's gonna be in the pack, but tutor me on cloud computing. Need to sit this certification. All these are the objective. Do it in your own time. Message me on LinkedIn and see what you get. Okay, we can compare notes. All right, last slides. I promise, last slides because the QR code is in the last slides. Trust thoughtfully because no matter how good of the prompt that you can design, responses from AI models, right, should never be taken as a fact or completely free from bias. So this is why critical thinking will become a thing, very important things to analyze the output from the language models, right, in a very near future or even now. Going to be upcoming skill in the world that we need to cultivate. Always use this responsibly, thoughtfully, and critically, all right? If you cannot get to the resources, come and talk to me later as well. Thank you very much, everybody, and hope you have a good rest of the conference. Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah.
You've been